Good afternoon, and welcome back to another episode of the Semi Thoughts Podcast. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in and again, just patronizing the podcast. Again, this is a place where we only tell Black stories over here, Southern Black stories. And today I have a really dope story to tell. I have entrepreneur and technologist David C. Williams. David currently works for AT&T, and he's super accomplished. I mean, he has done a bunch of things that you'll hear about today that will really make you want to tap in and learn a lot more about what he's done and what he's trying to do as far as being a Black technologist, introducing STEM related ideas to the world. I mean, once you hear a little bit about what he's done so far, I think you'll really be a lot more appreciative about a Black man such as this trying to continue to elevate the game in a tech and STEM related venture. So we'll bring David in right now. And David, how can you hear me?
I can. How's it going, Tyler?
It's good. It's good. First of all, I just want to thank you for giving me a little bit of your time today. I know this is we've been trying to make this happen, and
Yeah,
but I'm definitely glad
it's all good.
for sure, for sure. So I called you last week and I told you that I read a little bit about what you've done so far in the tech and basically the technology space. And I think a lot more people needs to hear a story like yours because tech isn't something that is as big as it possibly should be in our community. And I definitely think that you're doing some necessary work that people need to know about. So, first of all, again, thank you for coming on. And I guess we'll just start here. So before getting into the meat of everything, I think it's really important for people to know, where you're from, how this place molded you into the man that you are today, the highs and the lows and everything. So let's just, start with your background.
Sure. So first, thanks for the opportunity to sit here with your viewers and followers. I really appreciate the time, Tyler. Yeah, so look, I'm from South Dallas. And for those not familiar with what that means, it's like the Caprini Greens of Chicago, Marcy Projects, New York, Compton in LA, whatever you want to call it. It's a pretty tough neighborhood. But there's a lot of diamonds in the rough. There's a lot of family, a lot of community, a lot of culture, and a lot of innovation. Innovation is born out of necessity. That's a quote from Einstein. And if you think about folks in underserved or underprivileged communities, there's a lot of necessity to go around. And so there's a lot of ingenuity that goes around. And often we just don't call it engineering, but that ingenuity is what spawns innovation. And if we can leverage how to take that stuff into our corporate or professional careers, we can be very successful just as we are successful in the things that we have to do in our own communities. So that's a little bit about where I'm from, man. I'm a Dallas native. There's not a whole lot of us. Everybody in Dallas is from somewhere else. And so it's a little bit of a unicorn. But yeah, happy to talk all about it.
Definitely. So I'm just wondering, we come from these places. I don't even think I told you. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, and basically the way that you summed up where you're from, Jackson, Mississippi is similar. There's pitfall. I mean, there's pitfalls everywhere. I mean, we can talk about those pitfalls, but I think the dope thing about those pitfalls, and even between me and you, I think the dope thing about those pitfalls is that you don't allow those pitfalls to define you, and you make that a crutch in a sense, and it's something that you lean on that keeps you, or something that you allow to keep you in a place to where you don't think, well, you can make it out. And I think you are a total success story. And I mean, anybody Black from any of these similar types of situations. But I just think that it's really cool that, we don't allow these things to define us, and we allow them to, mold us into, who it is that we can be if we, just take a look outside of our situations and, allow ourselves to be who we were destined to be. So in that same vein, I'm just wondering, who were some role models that you looked up to that kind of helped
Yeah.
shape you into the man that you are today as well?
Sure. Happy to share. So like when I think about that, it's like you know, one common phrase that's used is making a dollar out of 15 cents. Right? That's something that we hear a lot in our community. And I would say to someone, you know, from the hood who's thinking about how to make a dollar out of 15 cents. Look, if there was a CFO that could make a dollar out of 15 cents for just 3 months, a quarter, 2 quarters, that CFO would be CEO. Right? That's
David, hold on,
it's
hold on, real
amazing.
quick. There's some feedback on your end.
Uh-oh, there's some feedback.
It's staticky.
Is it better? It's static. Maybe it's the earphone. Is that better?
I still hear it. Okay.
How about now?
Okay, it's better.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So yeah, look, you know, so you know, we're taught to make a dollar out of 15 cents, and if we can ever take that into our corporate, our professional careers, and make a dollar out of 15 cents, we would find that that's an amazing transferable skill, right? And so for me, the mentors in my life, it starts with my mother, right? My mother taught me about budgeting and making it all work and really making a dollar out of 15 cents, and that look. You know, if I bring my best self and find someone to bring their best self, then we could put 1 and 1 together and make 11. And that's the cheat codes. That's how you get further faster. Other mentors, my big brother, Kenneth Gwynn, from Big Brothers and Sisters, he was a brother to me. My father passed away when I was just a young boy. He's been in my life ever since, and it's just taught me a lot about how to be a man. You know, I've had a few uncles that have been around and some folks from work. You know, the first mentor I probably had at work was a lady by the name of Linda Jackson. She took me under her wing. She helped me out. She showed me a lot of things. She introduced me to mentoring and formal mentoring and being able to rub elbows with executives, get into some spaces with the higher echelon. And it taught me a lot about where I was going to go in my career. And so I've had a few along the way, but my mother, Kenneth Gwynn, Linda Jackson, was probably some of the first mentors that got me started.
Definitely. So, before we kind of get into what it is that you do and all of the dope stuff that you've done, what kind of what piqued your interest? Like what sparked your interest in tech? Because again, I kind of spoke about this already, but I believe when the Obama administration was in office, I feel like there was more of a added sense placed on, tech, and these are the jobs of tomorrow, and this is what your kids should be looking into as far as those next generations of the jobs of the future in a sense. But how did you? I mean, just what really piqued your interest and
Yeah.
got you kind of started in tech?
Yeah. Man, technology is just kind of cool. I mean, whether it's, you get some, as a kid, you get some cool toy on your birthday or Christmas or something, or you see something on TV or play with somebody else's toy at school or something or whatever. Just starting to see those little things there was probably the beginning of my curiosity. But getting into the actual, technology or automation industry, that field, my path wasn't traditional. It wasn't that I went and, got a computer science degree and went into engineering. I started solving problems. I started working at AT&T as a non-management employee. I was working in a network organization. We had some workloads that was a little bit too much for the amount of folks that we had there. And I figured out a way to simplify. Just, again, innovation is born out of necessity. And so in doing the job and learning the job, most of us do whatever job we do. You at this podcast, a videographer who's directing videos and movies, everyone gets really good at their job. And at some point you learn how to do that job with one hand. Well, with the other hand, I figured out how to make the job better. and I made it better for myself, and then I shared it with the team, and I made it better for the whole work group. And where we went from 40 pages of work, we were just fighting over one ticket at a time. And so that was the beginning of me seeing how I could use technology and automation to make things easier. I started really, really small, just doing it myself, and I helped some folks around me. Over time, I got confident. I started working with other mentors, learning how the business actually runs and works. And I found other opportunities and just started shooting for stuff in 100 millions and larger. And so it just started that small, though, just with curiosity. Some of my past experiences, mama teaching me how to make $1 out of 15 cents, and then the passion to go do something to make a difference. And putting that together, that's what led me down this path of going down, being black in tech and trying to solve big problems and advancing technology for our society.
Definitely. So now, Assistant Vice President of Business, Customer Sales, and Service. But before you got there, I'm sure there were times along the way where you might have been deterred, you might have been discouraged. Oftentimes, with our dreams, people tend to. Well, first of all, you got to be careful who you tell your dreams to. That's one thing. But along the way, we all become discouraged. I mean, I want 10 million people to listen to my podcast, but I'm not there yet. But it can be discouraging at times. So for you, before you got this title, I'm sure there were times along the ways where, you became discouraged because things weren't going the way that you may have liked them to go, or, an invention or idea wasn't as fleshed out as you may have liked it to be. So what just kind of kept you on the path to get you to where you are currently?
Yeah. So probably a couple of things. One, everyone needs a support system. You need someone who can cheer you on and tell you that you really are as good as they think you are, you think you are, that you really can go do it. Everyone needs a support system. And if you don't, those people aren't around you, if you don't already have someone telling you that, then I would submit to you probably go look for some different folks to be in your support system so you can get that. Because climbing a mountain is tough. It's going to get steep, right? If everyone could do it, it'd be crowded at the top of the mountain, right? But it's not. There's only a very few folks or anyone that ever makes it to the top. And so you have to have that determination, right? And for me, what gave me that is I've been through a number of things, right? I've seen a whole lot. My father committed suicide. The house we lived in burned. I lost so many aunts and uncles. I've been in near-death experiences. I was paralyzed temporarily. I've seen so many things, and making it through those things, at some point you realize that, hey, look, even if these folks over here are discouraged, even if they're playing like they want to help you and they really don't, because that happens a lot. Regardless of any of it, what I do know is that God did not bring me this far to leave me here. There's some more to this. And just with that alone, and a support system saying, keep going, you can move mountains, right? And so the folks that I work with today, a lot of those folks, well, first of all, the team that I lead, we have the largest robotics process automation program in AT&T, and I was there for a while. And I've said that it's a pretty big conferences and have yet to see anyone challenge. But that group of folks, a lot of them did not come in with a true technology or STEM background. They came in with will and passion. And then we taught them about technology. And we're delivering on results that are exponential. They can't even give us the target. Our numbers improved. The first year we started, we drove 2 million transactions. The next year we quadrupled it, 8 million. The next year we quintupled that with 41 million. Now we don't have 20 transactions. Now we just got this dollars somewhere at 300 million. And so having that kind of passion, that kind of determination, knowing when you've been for, you gotta believe that there's more. There's more on the other side. And with that belief, I just I rested on that belief. I found comfort in that faith that they ran with. And as problems arose, as I looked for problems, I saw big problems, I believed that it was a way to solve it. One it did, just didn't give up until we solve, period. I want to say this to you too, just real quick. I remember I was listening to an interview with AT&T asked him about the genius what he does, what he did. He had a point stop, the genius of what he and the folks that later did, they just didn't stop. They tried to get up and break the deal. They didn't get one no other assignment, started their own company. People didn't believe that either. They kept going. New York, ran all around the country until it finally worked. And the genius just was not giving. So I would say that to me, like, do not give up. I don't care where you come from. No one would have believed that some person marching the project could be run the greatest writers in our era. But hey, what do they know?
There was so much feedback there. I honestly barely.
Oh, it was too much feedback.
I barely heard what you said. Man.
Okay, let's try. Okay. Oh man.
It's like your voice is vibrating and there's some static behind it.
Let's see. Maybe it's the Bluetooth. What about now?
Okay, I hear you good now, but now I hear the echo in the background.
Keep no echo now.
Let's see. Okay, I don't hear me.
Oh wait. What about now?
I think we're good at the moment. We're good. I don't know. Man,
any echo?
No echo now. Like that entire answer you gave, it was nothing but feedback. I heard you in bits and pieces.
I can't hear you though. Let me turn the volume just a little bit. Maybe not too. Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
How do you sound?
I sound good, but now I hear the echo in the background again.
Now you can hear me well?
I can hear you well. I hear the echo in the background though. I hear me again.
You can hear you echo in the background.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we got it. Let's try one more time. And I'm happy to hit that one over again if we need to. But let's try it again.
Yeah. I heard bits and pieces of what you were saying, but the feedback was just really muffling everything that you were saying.
You are recording, so you could do this live. So we're not punishing your right. Okay, I didn't want to punish your followers through all of this mess.
No.
Good afternoon.
Hold on, let's see.
Okay. All right, so
we good.
All right, we're good. Okay. It's on you.
Okay, so I was basically asking you, now, as far as your title, Assistant Vice President of Business, Customer Sales and Service. What I was saying was that, oftentimes, when you're on a path of dreaming and working towards a particular goal, there are things along the way that discourages you. Whether that might be, maybe like a parent that you're telling your dream to, whoever it is that you might be communicating, whatever your dream may be, you get discouraged along the way. So I was just asking you, what kept you on the path that led you to who you are today, as far as the type of work that you do and the title that you've attained?
Sure. So I'll say this. There's one thing I think about that just kind of encapsulates it all. It sounds a little trivial, but it's real, which is all Rudolph needed was one foggy night and Christmas would never be the same. And if you come from underserved neighborhoods, underprivileged communities, you've seen some foggy nights, right? You've been caught by surprise on some tough days. You've been ready for those tough days, right? And so any job, any career is there. It exists to solve a problem. A cashier is solving a problem with handling the money. A cook is or a chef is handling the problem of preparing the food. Every single problem, every job is to solve a problem. And so, look, when for me to get past the discouragement that I feel like I've witnessed or had to go through, it started with a belief that, look, I don't think that I've been through the things I've been through to get to this place, and that's it. I believe there's a lot more. I think I'm in the middle of this mountain because there's a peak to it that I'm supposed to get to. And so therefore, I'm just not going to stop. I would supplement that and say that, look, you always need a support system. You need someone who is your biggest cheerleader that is going to say to you, they're proud of you. They want you to keep going. They're excited for the things that you're doing. If you don't have people like that in your life that are actively poured into you, you need to go find some, right? Because it's not going to be easy. Last thing I'd say is, look, it's hard to do anything in this world on your own. And so if you can link up with somebody that's like-minded, that's doing what you're doing, or a mentor, somebody that has done what you're trying to do, who can pour back into you, those kinds of things go a very, very long way. You know, I believe 1 and 1 makes 11. You bring your best self, somebody brings their best self, you put it together. That's how you get the cheat codes. That's how you get further faster.
So I was reading an article that someone wrote about you, and one of the things that really caught my attention was they called you a modern day tech revolutionist. Would you call yourself a tech revolutionist? And if so, how would you kind of describe the type of work that you do? And do you think that you are breaking down barriers for others to come along behind you?
Yeah, I agree with that assessment and that description. I think the stuff that we're doing is revolutionary for a few reasons. One, look, the team that I'm fortunate enough to lead, we have the largest robotics process automation program in AT&T, arguably top 5 worldwide. It's made up of an extremely diverse group of folks: Black men, Black women, Hispanic men and women, Asian, LGBTQ, people living with disability, the whole nine, Native American, the whole nine. The work that we do, the pace of work that we do is exponential. It's, literally, I mean, year after year, we're putting up the most insane numbers. We start off putting up 2 million, then 8 million, 40 million. And now we're at 300 million, that we're looking at 300 million in goodness, savings and revenue that we're bringing in this year. So having a team of folks like that, creating an atmosphere like that, has enabled us to do a lot. I also look at, in the world that we work in, the type of work that we do, it's automation. And so it requires folks to be very creative and to think about business problems in a different way. And sometimes as we do that, folks will look at that and it goes against the status quo. Everyone may not fully understand it. And so we have to try to help bring folks along and understand the strategy of what we're doing. The types of work that robotics process automation, or commonly known as bots, what that is it's like a big macro, a big script almost, that will run a number of commands, and it's limitless. And so it gets very, very complex. And we take that capability and apply it to different problems and come up with really innovative and creative solutions. I mean, things that just never existed before: visual IVRs and credit engines and desktop orchestration, and just all sorts of things that just never existed. And we're able to do that and deploy those things and go get the goodness out of it and tell an amazing story behind it. And so that's something I'm really proud of. And we work very, very hard to keep doing that at an accelerated rate.
Definitely. Another thing that I saw in the article, they asked you to give 3 words that describe you. And another thing that stood out to me was an anomaly. And when you look at, so journalism, for an example, I'm a journalist. And I wouldn't just limit myself to being a journalist. I would like to say that I'm a media professional, because I can do anything media related that any company or any individual would ask me to do. So one of the things that I think is interesting about you calling yourself an anomaly is that I'm sure that in this particular industry, there aren't many people that look like you. Journalism, for an example, one of the interesting things, and kind of going off on a tangent, but I'm coming back to something. I was watching the Malice at the Palace documentary that was created, and you just look at the way that the basketball players were portrayed in this documentary. They were labeled thugs, and we all know what thug is. What thug is a buzzword for. Um, so one of the things that I feel like people fail to realize is I feel like we are really going to miss LeBron James when he retires. And not just from basketball, because he'll still be around from a business perspective. But one of the things LeBron did was, and LeBron and other athletes, LeBron was tired of athletes, media telling athletes' story and portraying them in an entirely different way that isn't their particular character. You see them on the basketball court, and they might commit a hard foul, and just based off their hard foul, they would like to characterize you, put you in a box, or describe you however that they would like to describe you. But they are only seeing you on the court. They aren't seeing you outside of the court. So when LeBron created the Uninterrupted platform, it specifically allows athletes to tell their own story uninterrupted, which is the name of the platform, without media interference, right? So LeBron created a platform for athletes to tell their own stories. You are creating a platform in tech that is innovative, it's new, it's fresh. But I don't know the demographics of what your company looks like specifically, but I'm pretty sure that there aren't many people doing what it is that you're doing. So when you call yourself an anomaly, I'm just wondering what kind of came to mind when you use that term to describe yourself.
Yeah. So look, I do feel like an anomaly, right? Again, my path through STEM and technology is not traditional. It wasn't a traditional technology degree and going to a traditional path. It was very varied. And so for anyone who falls into that same kind of category, right? You weren't on your qualifications weren't exactly what they were looking for or thinking about.
Absolutely.
Right. But I would say there's a ton of anomalies, and there's so many anomalies that do come from underserved communities, but not just that. Steve Jobs was an anomaly, right? A guy who dropped out of college and went and studied calligraphy is the CEO of Apple, right? That is an anomaly. Just as much as a Jewish child actor from Canada being artist of the decade is an anomaly, right? And so there's a ton of anomalies. The issue, though, is that when you do stand out, when you are different, when you have the Rudolph red nose, right, and you don't fit in, a lot of folks don't know what to do with that. And so they mock, they laugh, they discourage, right? They shame, they have all kinds of negativity to pour into it. As an anomaly, though, what you have to understand is just like Neo in the Matrix, like you have the cheat codes. You understand both sides of what you're looking at, both sides of the coin. And you just have to be able to take that and do something positive with it. And so I think that a lot of times coming from tough circumstances, right, builds a lifetime of transferable skills of innovation, ingenuity, determination, all those things. Being able to try to figure out how you can take that and mix it up into a stew where you can do something positive with it, where you can feed your soul and feed others. That's the key. And I think the key to doing that is figuring out that, look, your experiences with your passion makes your own business model. That's what makes you unique. That's what gives you your advantage so that you can go be successful in this world. And we just have to look beyond the others and find the confidence in ourselves. I think there's a quote that says the greatest prison is the one in our mind, worried about what other people think of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, freeing
That's
ourselves from that gives us all the power in the world to go do everything that we were put here to do. So you can show off your superpowers, right? You just got to have the confidence to go ahead and do it.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So let's talk about your work during the pandemic. You won the Rodney Atkins Legacy Award, which is the Black Engineer of the Year Award. And I was just wondering if you could expound a little bit more on the amazing things that you did in order to help. I believe over 40,000 AT&T employees work from home during the pandemic. Could you kind of expound on that for me?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a prestigious award. I'm so grateful for it. I was honored. Our CEO of AT&T Business, Ann Chow, presented the award and introduced. I had so many letters of recommendations. Our CEO of the company, John Stanky, our Chief Compliance Officer, David Huntley, a couple of CEOs externally from ProDap and CallView, letters of recommendation they provided. So it was just absolutely amazing experience. The publisher of U.S. Black Engineer and Information Technology reached out and called me when I won. It was just dreams come true. The work that went into that was a lot, but the most recent, I guess, accomplishment, the thing that put it over the edge, is I was able to figure out a solution to help during the pandemic. And so when the outbreak of the pandemic hit the United States, the federal government mandated that everyone work from home. Mm-hmm. Well, telecommunications companies are regulated by the FCC, which don't allow employees working from home to see certain information, social security card, date of birth, credit card, all that. And so being unable to see that information, it makes it really tough to take a payment or make a sale, right? Any business, if you're not able to take all the payments and make sales, that's bad. It's bad for business. And so in about 5 weeks, we were able to come up with a solution that allowed those folks to work from home, not be exposed to all that sensitive information, enable customers to still make a payment or make a sale or purchase a device, and do all that virtually. The reason that's so important is, one, it allows, again, 40,000 people working around the world to work from home securely and do their jobs, right, during the pandemic. But even more so, there are millions of people, millions of businesses that were trying to equip themselves at the onset of COVID. And so think of a law office that's trying to get all their paralegals devices so they can keep in touch with them. Think of hospitals trying to do the same with nurses and doctors. So many different industries, so many different businesses, people were just trying to get connected because we all had to be virtual for so long. And so that was the power of what we were able to do. Not only just enable those 40,000 folks around the world to work from home securely, but enable so many people within the United States to be able to connect and stay connected during the pandemic. There was a lot more other things as well. Again, the team I lead, we're putting up amazing numbers with what we do. Before that, I had a Jerry Maguire moment, and I invented this thing, a credit decision engine. Drove $300 million in 2 years. I got a couple of patents I've authored, just a lot of different things. I'm a champion of diversity. I'm very active in the community and work with, all sorts of different affinity groups. And so it's been a run. It's been a lot. It's been a run.
Definitely. I'm wondering, outside of AT&T as your primary job, are you developing anything currently that you could possibly speak about? If not, that's cool. But I was just wondering if there was anything that you were doing outside of work that can be equally as innovative.
Oh yeah. So absolutely. So I started a small business called RollingAds.com.
Okay.
RollNAds.com. And so that business, it's a mobile advertising business, and I just submitted a couple of patents on it. And long story short, what it is it enables businesses to be able to advertise on vehicles. And there's a 2D code, or I'm sorry, QR code process that we have, patented process, so that drivers can go into business for themselves and be able to market to different businesses in the communities that they can are willing to advertise for them, as well as it enables businesses to be able to have their products and services advertised on other people's vehicles, and folks can just walk up and purchase their product or service right there from someone's car or vehicle. And so it's a really cool concept. It's enabling a lot of passive income for folks who are drivers. It's enabling businesses to market their services more broadly. Imagine you're a small barbershop. You go get 10 cars with your ad on it. Now you have a fleet of cars riding around town advertising your service, right? It's huge. And so it's enabling both folks on both sides of the coin. Very, very excited about it.
That's cool. So do they scan the QR code and they can just buy the product that way?
Correct. So there's a couple different kinds. There's one QR code for the drivers, so folks can just scan that QR code and then purchase an ad on that driver's car. So we equip all our drivers with that. And then a business, for their ad, if they have we put a QR code on the car, and so whatever product or service they're trying to sell, someone will walk up and just scan it, and it's right there for them to purchase, one-click purchase.
Wow, that's
like bringing Amazon Prime closer.
Definitely, that's super interesting. What are some of the issues in tech that you would like to see? I know that there aren't enough black and brown faces in tech, but what are some other issues in tech that you would like to see fixed?
Yeah, so sure. So there's a couple things. So one, the black and brown issue is a big issue, and it's a big issue not just for the sake of diversity. Yes, it is a big issue for that, but also for the sake of just technology. The reason I believe my team is so successful is because we are so diverse. A bunch of us who look the same way, I don't care what flavor you pick, are not going to come up with all these amazing solutions. You need a diverse perspective to come up with the best solution. And so for that, we need more varied, more black and brown faces in tech, period. There's a lot of ingenuity that, again, it comes out of necessity, and you need that transferable skill in that group that's coming up with whatever solution. Other things in tech that we need to solve for, there's some pretty big things that are going around. There's a battle between CapEx versus OpEx, and that's another financial discussion on how you fund it. There's another topic around tech that's an age-old adage around change is so hard for folks to get around. A lot of times when you're building something new, folks that built the last thing may have a problem with the new thing. And so the way I like that, look at that and liken it to, is I think about Apple. I say one day, the folks in Apple decided to put the computer, they used to make a monitor and a computer. And one day they decided to put the computer inside the monitor. Now that was many, many years ago. And when they decided to do that, the folks who make towers or computers can't be upset at the monitor department. They just got to figure out how to put these things together. Well, since they actually did figure out how to put it together, that birthed the iMac. Now everyone walks around with a computer inside a monitor called a smartphone in your pocket, right? But if Apple resisted that logic in the beginning, they never would have got to iPhones and iPads. Okay, that type of acceptance and evolution, everyone on the technology spectrum is not there. And I think for that, we have to be more open-minded to be able to accept these new solutions. Often it just won't look like something we did before, and we can't be afraid to work ourselves out of a job, because when you do, you find another job, right? There's so much work going on. Even the work that my team does today, we do so much automation, but we're not putting people out of jobs. We're just showing folks new work to go get after. More higher skilled work to go get after, right? And so that's the kind of path that I think that we have to go, and that's some of the challenges I think technology is facing overall.
Definitely. I think when you walk into a grocery store today and you see less registers and you see more tech, as far as, the self-checkouts, which allows you, and the crazy thing is the self-checkouts it's still ran by an individual. However, the customer still has to go through and scan and do all that stuff on their own. So I think that there is a healthy fear for the future of what tech could mean for jobs and the job markets, because so many people, I guess I would say my parents' age, they fear that technology is ceasing jobs. Technology is going to take the place of humans, like actual human interaction. And a
Yeah.
lot of people in this generation, they have an issue with where technology is going and how everything is more so online. And that's where most business and things like that, even job interviews these days, are conducted instead of face-to-face interaction. You still get face-to-face interaction, but technology is now more so of a part of it than it has been in the past. So I'm just wondering, where do you see tech going? Well, I'll minimize it. Where do you see tech in 10 years? And do you think human interaction will still be an important proponent, or do you think you'll see less human interaction and more technological advances, and us basically having less human interaction, I guess I would say?
Right. So, when I think about that, I'll tell you. So, you have automated checkout, but you have more folks working in the back because there's grocery delivery now. So, did the grocery store need less people? No, they serve more people now.
Absolutely.
I don't need as many checkout folks. I need some folks to stock some stuff for the drivers in the back who are pulling up, serving more folks, ordering groceries, because a handful of those folks were never going to come in the store because we're too busy anyhow. And so, did we lose any jobs? No, they just transferred. Some of the folks who were walking the baskets out to the parking lot, now they drive for Uber.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the folks might have been doing grocery checkout, maybe now they're in the back stocking. Or maybe they just left that whole industry and started doing iPhone repair because now everybody needs to fix their iPhone. Right? So those, in theory, it makes sense. The worry makes sense. In real life application, it just doesn't work out that way. I've been doing automation a long time, worked with a lot of folks, put up some really big numbers. It just doesn't work out that way. The other thing I would say is, in 10 years, where do I see things going? Do I see there will be less human interaction? I think in some ways we are craving less interaction, right? As a society. I don't want to talk to somebody on the phone. I want to do it on the app. I don't want to have to go pick up the meal. I want it dropped at my doorstep. In some areas, we don't want the interaction. I get it. But everyone loves to be treated nice. Everyone loves white glove treatment, world-class customer service. Everyone loves it. I don't care where you go, whether it's a hotel, an expensive one or a cheap one. If you go buy a car, whether it's a luxury one or a utility, everyone likes being treated nice. And so every interaction matters more now. That's the key, right? It's not just Neiman Marcus who's going to treat you very nice and catch you at the door when you come in. It's also going to be Target, right? It's going to be all those other things. And so in 10 years, where do I see technology going? I think there will be more auxiliary devices. I think that clothes will become smarter, just as I think Nike has started making self-lacing tennis shoes. I think there's going to be a whole lot more of things like that. Home automation is going to continue to rise. A lot of folks, if you don't understand technology and you see Tony Stark, Iron Man's home, you think it costs $50 million to do all that, when truthfully, in Alexa and about $1,000, it gets you about 80% of the way there, right? Including the little Jarvis thing. And so I think home automation will continue to rise, and then it's going to take a while for the legislators to get there. But we will get to autonomous vehicles. We will get to autonomous cars, and we'll get to autonomous flight, right? The airline industry is going. Oh yeah, the airline industry is going to have to face something. They're going to have to contend with something in the near future, which is this: airlines are designed for large trips. They have big airports, and they have a massive system to get people all the way around, the world.
Right.
But think about catching a trip from Plano to Cedar Hill, or from one suburb to another. 25 minutes, 35 minutes at the wrong, a trip that's 30 miles at the wrong time might take you an hour to make it.
Right.
Where you may do a short flight and get there in 10 or 15 minutes. Those kinds of things are going to come to fruition. I was reading an article on Uber a while back, and they were even already pricing what they feel that their autonomous flights may cost. I think it was like $1.82 a mile. So it's coming. All these things are coming. It's and I would even say, coming. These things are here. The technology may not be mature, but the spaceship has most certainly landed. The aliens may not have crawled off yet, but the technology is here for certain.
Definitely.
One last thing just to mention, I think that healthcare will have a huge advancement in technology, up to and including smart pills, things that you can take and it helps to diagnose. Oh yeah.
Really? That is.
These things are here. This isn't, the stuff I'm talking about isn't conjecture. These are things that exist today. They're just not in the general public, general audience distribution.
That's super interesting. Tech Tuesdays. I see that there is a Tech Tuesdays initiative that you have going on as well. And I know, just a minute ago, I was asking, about the type of issues that the tech industry is facing. And one of the things that you highlighted is Black and brown faces. And there aren't enough Black and brown faces in tech at this particular moment. Why did you come up with Tech Tuesdays, and what is the whole goal behind it?
Yes. So Tech Tuesdays, man, listen, now that's a special place in my heart. So we every month on the final Tuesday of the month, we go to myself and a group of folks will go to a different part of the city, typically in a low-income neighborhood, and we'll sit down with the kids and students, and I'll bring in solar robots. We'll have group exercises. We'll talk about how solar panels work. And then at the end, we'll give the students or that facility the solar robots. What's crazy is a lot of times, some of those facilities, some of those students, the best they got to work with may be construction paper, right? So to come in with something like that completely changes it. It's an amazing experience too, because, often you hear folks say, well, kids they have a short attention span. I differ. I disagree. I don't see any kid having a hard time, any student having a hard time spending time on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Attention span is pretty healthy right there. So the key is finding something that they're interested in, right? And unlocking that curiosity. The attention span will follow. And so if something's not working, if it's not holding their attention span, it's a wrong business model or something. But we found that, children spend, we're spending a couple hours with them, and some of these students may spend, 30, 40 minutes working on one robot. It's amazing. It's so rewarding to see the light bulb go off in a young kid's mind, and the possibilities that they may start to dream up. It's just amazing, man. We usually have, between 15 and 40 children per session. We travel, we go around to different places. We'll keep doing that. And we have another one coming up in Pleasant Grove at the FAWC Conservatory and Arts Building on Bruton Road. So very excited about it, man. I love it. And the last thing I'll say is this. I love a chance to be able to show some of these students that, look, I come from a neighborhood, either the same neighborhood or one like yours. And, recipient of a Black Engineer of the Year award, um, a legacy award, a patents and champion of diversity, dreaming black winner, all that kind of stuff. I want them to see that it is tangible, it is real, right? Um, this is not just for someone else. This is for you too, right? You are an anomaly, so am I, and either of us can make this happen. And we just have to use what God gave us. It might have been a tough lesson, but it's a lesson that'll carry you a very, very long way.
Definitely. Uh, just to go back to the community portion of the conversation. I know you said that you're super involved in the community, and even with your Tech Tuesdays, which is also another way that you are involved in the community. But I also learned about urban specialists. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, as far as another way that you are solidly planting your foot in the ground and trying to improve your community. So I just wonder if you could talk a little
Absolutely.
bit about that as well.
Yeah, urban specialists. I got connected with them through Bishop Omar Jawar, pastor who recently passed away. But
Mhm.
um, look, this is a community engagement group that reaches out, and they do a number of amazing things in the community. One is they have a violence interrupter program where folks from those communities go back to those communities, and because they are from the community, they know who's who in the community, and they can talk to certain folks in those communities that hold certain respects and have conversations with them about stopping the violence and actually making it work. It is a successful program when you have folks from that community go back to that community and be a mentor or a liaison, someone, a voice of reason. Um, that's one thing that Urban Specialist does. They have another program called OGU where they're working with folks to go back into the communities and do things to try to help do giveaways. They help with children and mentoring. They have programs where Texas Workforce Commission gets involved to help folks get employment. Um, all sorts of things. Sometimes it's just going to go spread love in the community, right? There was one place we went to, a particular apartment complex where a number of um, young girls there got shot, accidentally got shot, and a toddler, right? And so we had to take Tuesday there, but we also just went and showed a bunch of love and brought out a big bounce house for the kids. Here's some fun. Let's not think about whether we're getting shot today. Let's think about how much fun we're going to have today. Let's go get a bunch of ice cream for the kids. It's hot, it's summer. Enjoy have a smile, right? Sometimes it's just going to places and showing some love because that place may be a little love deficient, and that's why the violence is starting to show. So urban specialists, they do it on both sides, man, whether just showing love or actually going in to try to tactically stop violence. They do a lot.
I just want to stick with the community aspect because, like you just spoke about, a lot of the situations that happens in communities like ours is because the children feel like, I have to do this in order to get this. And I feel like the internet is a lot more accessible today than it maybe was when I was in high school. When I was in high school, Facebook was just really coming out and it caught my attention like that. And the kids today, they're outside, but they're outside in ways in which I wasn't outside at their current ages today. It seems like there are so many other things that can deter them than it was when I was growing up, and I'm only 31. So I'm not that far removed, but someone like yourself, what do you think you represent to those kids who might see a bunch of negative stuff on a day-to-day basis, but then they see someone like you who is from where they're from, have went through, similar struggles in your life as well. Your life hadn't been easy also, but you have all of these things going for you. What type of symbol do you think that creates, and what do you think that shows them that they can become?
Well, I would hope that, well, I'll say this: the greatest gift one human can give another is the gift of inspiration, right? I would hope that hopefully one of those students we've inspired to go be their best self, right? To be all of who they are, right? And when someone looks at me, I hope they see sincerity. I hope they see passion. I hope they see someone that actually just cares, right? The accolades and stuff like that, they're very nice and it's very, very cool. But what I'm after is bigger than an accolade, right? I want to try to help society at large. I want to advance technology, right? That's not a trophy, right? That's an impact. That's a difference. And whether that is a difference in one person's life or an entire nation's life, it's still an impact and it's still meaningful, right? Whoever inspired Harriet Tubman, God bless him, because she did a lot for a whole lot of other folks. And so if I can inspire one person, one child, one student, who knows what they can go do? That's the beauty of what we do, is that the possibilities are limitless. And the goal is to show that to those same students, that the possibilities are truly limitless. It's not just encapsulated in the apartment complex you live in. It's not just the zip code that you're in or the color of clothes that somebody else has versus yours. It's way bigger than this. And you, no matter where you're from, you have a right, you have an opportunity to participate in all of it, right? You can come from Dallas and go do amazing things in Dubai. You do not have to stay in Dallas.
Definitely. And I like how your answers are just following into my next questions. So again, just speaking with the community aspect, right? Today is Nipsey Hussle's 36th birthday, and we all know how he died and how he's no longer here. But one of the things that is really inspiring about Nipsey Hussle is the fact that, as you said, one of the things that he said is the highest human impact is to inspire, or something along those lines. I might be twisting that up, but have you been in Dallas all of your life?
Yeah, I've traveled a lot, man. But yes, I'm a Dallas native and have lived here my entire life.
Okay, so here's my question. Nipsey's whole stance was about basically growing where you're planted. He could have left LA whenever he wanted to, but he decided that he wanted to give back to the community in more ways than one. However, just going back to the beginning of our conversation when we were talking about the pitfalls of our communities and the way that they can either influence or deter your path, depending upon which way that you're traveling. Now, he decided to stay there. And one of the things that they say is he basically lived and he died on Slauson. For you to have remained in Dallas, other than traveling, your feet and your roots are planted here in Dallas. What has kept you in Dallas, and what has kept you, I guess I would say, from maybe going to Silicon Valley or wherever the next place where tech is really going to be? Austin, for an example. Austin is starting to boom in tech at this moment. Why have you decided to plant your feet here solidly in Dallas and not leave?
Yeah, a few reasons. So one, look, I have a son and he's 22 right now, and so for a while I was, especially during high school years, I wasn't going to dare try to uproot him. Before that, I had a couple other opportunities to go do something differently. I passed on him because I actually took in his cousin, and so two young black boys, they need a figure around.
Absolutely.
But when I think beyond, just family, I think beyond that, what's kept me in Dallas, maybe a couple of things, and I don't know if if it'll keep me in Dallas, how much longer. But one is I believe in giving back at every stage, not waiting to the end and then try to give it back. As you climb, lift, right? Lift others. And so as things have worked out for me, I've continued to do that for others. And there's a lot of work around Dallas. And so I found myself fulfilled with doing that work and helping others. I've been mentoring folks for 10 or 15 years. And so I find a lot of pleasure in that, in doing and helping others. When I think about, beyond that part of it, there's been a couple technology things that I've been working on. Some of the patents and things I was working on, I didn't want to leave that work. I wanted to finish it out. What you don't know a lot of times is patents are something, that for almost every technology advancement, there's a patent for it, but it takes like 3 to 6 years to get your patent approved. And so it's a crazy process. But as that work completes and those things kind of wrap up, different opportunities as they come up, I'm considering them all. And so there's been a few overseas and some other opportunities. We'll see. Got a little bit of work doing, so jury's still out.
Cool. I just wanted to ask that because I just thought that was really important. Oftentimes you don't always get the support from your community, and you yearn for it because this is where you were born, this is where you were bred, your parents, all that good stuff. And I think there's a certain acceptance that we all want from the places in which we were born, and the places where we have roots, but those places don't always give back as far as relationship goes. So what do you think about that?
No, I agree with you, man. And so, like, even going back to your point about Nipsey, right? Here's a guy who's from that city. He's doing a lot of good, and unfortunately, the hood took him out. Okay, and folks can debate, the exact occurrence and how it all played out, but that's just what happened at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And so that's a tough road to travel. Mm-hmm. And you're right, in your own city a lot of times, or whatever, where you're from, a lot of times folks doubt that you have something different. You're not just like the rest of them, right? Or rest of us or whatever. And so that can be tough. But I think if you are walking in the thing that you are, your purpose, you're walking in the thing that you were made to go do, it's just really hard to lose when you're doing it, right? I mean, short of someone taking your life, it's just really hard to lose when you're committed. Now, it's not going to be easy, right? Nipsey is, I think he's from foreign descent. I think he has a
Eritrean,
Asian Indian lineage, right? And so I imagine folks from his community might have questioned why he was rapping. Black folks question if he was even black or not. All these things I'm sure he had to contend with, right? But he had to know himself what his purpose is, what his purpose was. And he had to stay focused and go do it. Even Nipsey Hussle, who so many people love today. Think about it, when he first started, I'm sure folks were questioning all of these different things. But right. He had to know what he was here for and go do that thing. And all of us have the same obligation, is to know our purpose and then go walk.
Absolutely. I think this was one of the reasons that I really wanted to talk to you and have you on, is because, I believe, better than anyone. You've achieved a certain level of success in your life, and your background or the community that you came from could have tried its best to hinder who David Williams is today. But I think a lot of the things that our community needs is to see more people who look like us that aren't, shooting a basketball or, even rapping in a sense. I mean, for you to be doing what you're doing in tech is extremely important. And you might not know it, but you could be, like you said, you are hoping when people look at you, you're hoping that they see, inspiration, um, a genuineness in, when you're speaking to them about what it is that you're doing, they can see and feel, how invested that you are in the type of work that you're doing. And, you just hope that that rubs off. And I think that's a lot of what our community needs. They need to see us doing other things and, trailblazing and doing things that, others said that we could not do, that we weren't built to do, that we didn't have the smarts or the ingenuity to try to, accomplish and create. So, look, I definitely appreciate having you on. This was a really important conversation that I wanted to have. And again, like
Yeah.
I told you after I read about you, I definitely wanted to, have this conversation because I definitely think that these are the types of conversations that we need more of. And, voices like yours need to be heard.
Tyler, I tell you, you make a good point. Sometimes, in our community, if you're smart, folks will meddle you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I'm a living witness. Yep.
And that's discouraging,
Mm-hmm.
on so many levels. And those things last with people a lifetime a lot of times. And you don't, if you catch a pass or a touchdown, it's like, yeah, you did great. You gotta, you spend extra hours studying. It's like, what's wrong with that person? Right. And so having more examples, I think hopefully will open up folks to being receptive and appreciative of whatever their thing is. It doesn't have to look just like Michael Jordan or LeBron or whatever football player, right? It can look like your own thing. Think about Lizzo, the singer, rapper, flute player, all of that, right? A lot of folks would have counted her out in the beginning, but Lizzo, is an understudy of Prince, right? I mean, who takes music to the nth degree as far as being serious. And so you never can judge a book by its cover. And we as Black people, we got to stop doing that to each other. We got to stop judging each other. There's enough of the world judging Black people. We don't need to add it as another, opposition or thing we got to handle.
Definitely. Hey, I definitely appreciate your time. Like I said, this was a conversation that I really wanted to have. Like I said, it's important to hear these types of conversations. It's important to know that a Black man is trailblazing in a field to where at times you can just feel like, it's not accessible to us, so to see a face like yours in this type of industry is definitely important. And again, like I said, these type of conversations are super important to have as well. So look, I definitely appreciate you having this conversation with me and, shedding light on, who you are, the things that you've done and the things that you are continuing to chase. I think that it's super positive and it's super important for these type of messages to be on display. So that's definitely what I try to do with my platform. And, I'm glad to have you on for sure.
Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be in contact with you as well. So
all right,
definitely going to continue this
all right,
conversation and relationship as well. For sure. Take care.
Take care, man. All right,
Thank
bye.
you.